Hello,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Excellent. So I am going to be with you throughout the event. I'll, of course, have my camera off and my sound off. I'll be on mute.
Okay.
I will make all the panelists co-hosts just in case somebody loses connection. You guys don't get disconnected.
Great.
And then I won't start the webinar until about 2 to 3 minutes before the top of the hour, which will allow the participants to come in. And I will just play a short 3-minute sponsor video right at the top of the hour. And then when I stop sharing, you guys just run with it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, timing. How much time are people leaving for questions and things like that?
It depends on the number of participants in your session. It looks like there's over 200 people registered for your webinar. We're normally getting about 20–30% turnout. I would just kind of keep an eye on, sorry about the baby in the background. I have some childcare issues.
I've never dealt with such things.
But I would just keep an eye on the chat and the Q&A boxes. And if you're getting lots of questions, just try to leave kind of 10 minutes at the end.
Cool. So we'll keep an eye on that for whoever's speaking and not speaking. Cool. Cool. We thank our sponsors. We thank Denver Startup Week. Anything else, best practices that you found so far?
I think that's good. I would just, if you want people to put questions in the Q&A as opposed to in the chat, maybe just highlight that to them first, because the Q&A, only the panelists and hosts can see.
Got it.
But the chat, everyone can see. And the chat is also live stream. So if somebody watches it on YouTube later, they can see the questions come up. So it might be easier for you guys if you decide and tell people just use the Q&A or just use the chat for questions. So you're not trying to juggle through two sets of info.
Cool. Sorry, I'm dealing with my external camera, which is a giant pain in the butt, and I'm probably not going to use it anymore.
Don't worry.
All right. There we go. That is so much less sharp. Does it matter?
That looks good.
Okay, cool.
I imagine most people are looking at questions at the end of their sessions, or are you encouraging people to try to incorporate them as we go?
Whatever you guys prefer. It depends on your content, and if you want it to be more of a conversation or more of you're giving information and then taking questions after people consume it in its entirety.
Cool. I think we'll do that, and we'll ask them to put it in chat. Thank you for that. I'm sure I'll forget immediately, but yeah, Zoe, please interrupt. You know I can get on a roll, but if there's stuff missing, and then we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but if like even adding color to my section, I'm sure I will be adding some color in some of your sections too. So please feel free to jump in.
Okay.
Cool.
Is it just the two of you, or are we expecting more panelists?
Oh, I hope no one else shows up.
Okay, good. If you want me to, I can type in the chat box to say, please put questions in chat rather than Q&A while the video is running. That's helpful to you guys.
That'd be great. Can I ask your name?
Oh, I'm Sarah. Hi. Sorry.
Hi, Sarah. Nice to meet you. How's the rest of the show been going so far?
It's been going really well. I wasn't a part of it last year, but everything was virtual last year because of COVID, and this year we're hybrid. And from what people tell me, this year is going very, very smoothly.
Oh, that's great. I got to speak a couple times in a row when it was in person, and it was so lively and fun, and it was just so spirited. So I'm excited that we're back, and I really hope next year is in person.
Yeah, I went to the job fair last night, and that was awesome. It was really nice to just mingle and be around people. I was volunteering, but it was great to, be live again, not just on Zoom. But the Zoom webinars have also been really good because it's super informative and people can come back to it and, reference the information. And I think that people will also reach out virtually too if they can't physically be here. So hopefully it spreads the reach of Denver Startup Week outside of just Denver.
Yeah, I was interested in that. Like, what happens if it's Denver Startup Week becomes all Startup Week? Then Is that better?
I think we still highlight Denver because it's an amazing place. But if we go global, I think that's really cool.
Cool. I am going to check my settings, and I want to use my.
All right, I'm going to go on mute, put my camera off. I will come back on audio and let you guys know before I launch the webinar and people can see you. We are live streaming on Google right now. I can't turn that off. It's just as soon as we start the webinar, it goes. So just in case, so you're out there on the internet.
Got it. All right, I just switched my microphone to my external. Zoe, how does that sound? Can you hear it? Should I turn it up?
Nope.
Okay.
Clear.
Sounds good. We'll keep that one open. The other thing, Zoe, we should probably make sure to say is that we have 10 open headcount and that people should come join us. Like, as long as we're doing this, we should.
Yes. Good call.
It's not over marketing. I forgot that it's Verblio Day. What a fun day to be here. I should call that out at the beginning.
Yeah, you should. That is really cool. It's awesome. Do you want to practice sharing your screen, just making sure it's all working?
Thank you. Good plan. And that is not the one that I was looking for. Where'd you go? I hate when the Zoom things the controls get in front of everything that you actually need to hit.
Oh.
All right, are you watching the right thing? Are you seeing the right thing?
Yes, it's not in present mode, but yeah, there it goes.
Cool. I didn't keep my notes, so mine will be more off the cuff. I'm sure that shocks you.
The two nice differences in terms of approaching the presentation.
Yes, it's kind of perfect. I was trying to get the talking points for how many people are currently on your team, and I think it's hysterical that every time I try to figure out how many people are in the company, I have to go to JustWorks and start counting.
Yes, pretty crazy. Every time I'm trying to make sure I've gotten around to my whole team, I have to like write it out department or section by section.
It's such a good sign. It's like the symbolism. These
birthday week.
Birthday is off to a good start. The product team just took me out to lunch. That was awfully fun. Brad just came into the office, and so that'll be good too. My boys wrote the most beautiful cards. Jude said he wanted to be just like me when he grows up. And that was about all my heart could take.
What are you guys doing tonight? Anything fun?
We're going with the traditional. My parents take us out to the Brazilian steakhouse, and then we all get completely, just way too much meat than I need for the next 2 months. And then a bunch of my fire truck friends, my ultimate Frisbee crew, is coming over to watch the U.S. men's soccer qualifying cup game against Jamaica.
Fun.
It is good. You got anything planned for day off tomorrow?
I'm not very interesting. I'm planning to do all the reviews for the team tomorrow.
You're doing it with them on the off day?
Like writing all of my reviews. I haven't even looked at that
Yeah.
yet, so.
I think it's okay, given what you've just been doing.
Yeah, I know. But I am trying to fit in at least almost everyone's review by end of next week. So
That's it's very impressive. I'm sure it gets harder each time.
we have what I'm sure is going to be like such an annoying meeting we're trying to remodel our kitchen, which I feel like I've been talking about forever. And we are going to like do it ourselves as like the general contractor. And then like we could not find the contractors and it was just a mess. And so we went with like a more established firm to do it. And now I feel like they're yanking us around. So we have like a 2-hour meeting with them tomorrow to go through all the details. But they just told us that the timeline is moving from starting like next week to starting in December or January. And we're like, oh, that's really late notice.
That is everything that I'm hearing right now. We have this horrible black mold in our basement that needs to be removed, and we just keep getting it pushed off like months and months. Nobody will come and work on it. This reminds me a lot of the story that you guys first had when you moved into the house, where like Mason had like the special deal with the contractor if he did everything by himself. Wasn't there a deal like that?
Yeah, it was more like he's not our friend, but he was like our real estate's husband was flipping a house at the same time. And if Mason was the GC, then Greg, our friend, would basically just have his guys be like the contractors. And it was a lot of work. Just
Oh my God.
massive amounts of work. And the kitchen is much more complex than the bathroom. So
I thought I'd heard a story like this once before.
yeah, a little deja vu moments for sure. Never again.
I gotta practice my slide moving since my mouse is super sensitive. I don't know how I adjust that. There's got to be a way to adjust that, right? Oh, okay. I can just use the.
Greg probably knows.
You know, I can use the arrows. Great. Yep, technology. I just read this blog post yesterday, which was called "How to Not Look Old as Fuck at Work." And I feel like I've already broken 5 of those rules.
I mean, I'm still laughing about how many errors you triggered when trying to change your password. Yeah, one of my favorite moments. Like errors we didn't even know we had.
Oh, that was embarrassing. Yeah, that was awfully public too.
Very.
Oh, I didn't bring a watch. That's what I wanted to bring. All right, so we're starting off with the video, so we don't have to do anything.
Pretty sure watches are probably also on that list of things you should not bring to work.
I don't usually wear one.
You have this button start webinar. I'm assuming I shouldn't touch it.
I'm not touching it.
Okay, that's great.
You see it too, though.
I do.
Okay.
Really hard not to touch buttons, but
I know. I really want to touch it. It's like
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
if it was, at least it's not flashing.
We actually, you know what? Go ahead, click it. It's time.
Really? Are you serious? Or are you just messing with me?
Yeah, no, I'm serious. We'll let everybody in and then I'll start the video in 3 minutes.
All right. Here we go.
Have a great session, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Eric Matisik, co-chair of Denver Startup Week. Last year, we were able to bring the global audience together for Denver Startup Week, and this year, we're excited to welcome that global audience back as we celebrate and showcase the best of entrepreneurship that the Denver ecosystem in Colorado has to offer. In Denver and beyond, there are lots to explore this week, but most importantly, we're excited that you're joining us. We have nearly 50 sponsor companies who contribute to make Denver Startup Week possible. Let's show our love for these companies today and all week long. Thanks to our headquarters and title sponsor, Amazon, and our title sponsors whose leadership makes this week come to life, Capital One Cafe, the Downtown Denver Partnership, Fluid Truck, Hotel Engine, and WeWork, and our track sponsors who've made all the great content you're hearing today possible, which includes our founder track sponsor, Kickstart, our growth track sponsor, Friday Health Plans, developer track sponsor, Quizlet, product track sponsor, Palantir, design track sponsor, Battery 621 and the Public Works, people track sponsor, Exactly, and the spotlight event sponsor, Strat Labs. Our headline event sponsors are bringing this excitement to the entire week. Thank you to B-Side Fund, Colorado Public Radio, Comcast, Coors Brewing Company, Denver Pavilions, Entrepreneurship at the University of Denver, Gusto, JP Morgan Chase, Method, Moss Adams, Pi Insurance, Promontory Mortgage Path, Red Bull Basement, Southwest, Tattered Cover, and the VF Venture Foundry. Finally, thank you to our sponsors and member sponsors who are listed on the screen, and thank you for your support of Denver Startup Week. Now, let's get to it.
Hello, Denver. We are so excited to be here. We're excited to tell you a bit more about the Foundry for Builders program and to be a part of the Denver startup ecosystem. We moved our headquarters to Denver in the last year, and we're excited to call Denver home. Foundry for Builders, essentially we're offering our end-to-end Foundry solution that is deployed to major governments and enterprises worldwide to early and growth stage companies so that they can build their business on Foundry from day one.
Hi everyone, welcome to Denver Startup Week. My name is Ryan Margolis and I'm the Product Track Chair and member of the Denver Startup Week Organizing Committee. Thank you for joining us for the 10th anniversary of Denver Startup Week. At DSW, we strive to make all of our sessions a space where attendees can connect, learn, and grow, regardless of age, gender identity, gender expression, race, ability, or sexual orientation. A special thank you to our sponsors for their support in helping us to keep DSW free and accessible for all. Thank you for joining us. Have a great week.
All right. Welcome everyone to, I have to reshare it. Hold on. To our presentation. Thank you to Denver Startup Week and to all of our sponsors for letting us be here. I'm Steve Pockross. I'm the CEO of Verblio, and I am here with Zoe Treeson, my colleague of 5 years now. We're here to talk to you about 500% growth in 4 years, how we built a high-powered SaaS content marketplace by putting people and culture first. Our goal is to leave you guys with some tangible takeaways of how to restart growth or how to start growth. And we want it to be, while this is really focused on an early stage startup that has had our first plateau of growth, we hope it's also very tangible and relevant for new products, for new divisions, for starting up a fresh company, or for larger companies as well. And we tried to extract some of the bigger takeaways that we've learned during this period of time. First, some quick introductions. I'm Steve. This is my 3rd time speaking at Denver Startup Week. I love this event. I'm so excited that Denver has an ecosystem that we can be part of. Our company, Verblio, is Colorado-based. We're based in Denver. We have about 35 employees, about 2/3 of them are in Colorado, and we'll tell you a little more about the company in a second. I was raised in Colorado and then spent 20 years away, a lot of that in Silicon Valley, and it's really exciting to be back and watch the growing, burgeoning tech scene here.
And I'm Zoe Treeson, Senior Director of Operations at Verbleo. I've been here about 5 years. I've never spoken at Denver Startup Week, so I'm really excited, but I've definitely attended a lot of events over the year. Such a cool event. Really proud to have this in Colorado. And before Verblio, I was working in film production, actually in New York City. So I did a big pivot in my career, mostly because meeting Steve and some of the team he was working with in the prior company where we worked together, and really convinced me to change and move on over to Verblio. And I've been having a blast ever since.
Thanks, Zoe. And yes, I'm lucky. I'm lucky to have had the chance to work with you as well. This is a special day in multiple ways. This is actually the 3-year anniversary of our rebrand as Verblio is today, October 7th. It's also my birthday, which happens to coincide in part of my team strategy in order for me to accept a delay in our rebrand. And so it seemed perfect that it was on this day, and we're super psyched to be here to talk to you guys about it. A quick bit about Verblio, and then we'll try to make everything as relevant to as many companies as possible as we go through this. So we are a content creation marketplace platform. So what that does is we bring together a marketplace of 1,000 plus freelance writers, all US based, and with our team and our SaaS platform that is really focused on content creation. And we use that to create written content, mostly written content, focused primarily on website content, landing pages, white papers, blogs, etc. We also acquired a video company a few years ago to transfer those blogs into video. We do about 9 pieces of content. We do 3, and we also are focused on high quality content at scale for deep niches. And as an example of that, we do 3,500 pieces of content that are reviewed by lawyers each year. And so we are able to build custom programs based on deep subject matter expertise. We were founded by a journalist and a technical co-founder 11 years ago. The company was originally called Blogmutt. The spirit of those two founders really stays in our company, especially the focus on writers first and being a company that prioritizes creating great freelancer opportunities. We believe that highly motivated freelancers creates better product for the clients and also better opportunities for them. I would also like to say that I took over from the founders 5 years ago as CEO, and building a company to $2 million, I've never done by myself and takes a tremendous lift. So part of this presentation is about how do you give that deep respect to the founders who have built so much there while dramatically and radically changing everything they're doing at the exact same time to keep up with what got us here will not get us there. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of the very key strategic decisions for how we got from $200,000 a month to $1.3 million a month by the end of the year for a $2 million company to 12 million plus. Some of these things, we hope that a lot of these formulas can be applied elsewhere, but a lot of these are, you can see the specific inflection points where key things happened in the company. So we're going to talk about how we did this while being bootstrapped. We have no funding in the history of the company, so this is all growth that's been driven internally. We had to make the dollars before we spent the dollars, which creates very different investment decisions. It's my first time working in a bootstrap company, and I had a lot of learning to do there. In a red ocean, we're in a highly competitive marketplace for content creation, which is there are a lot of different ways that you could create content, and probably the number one thing we compete with is people who don't create their own or create content at all. The last is that we're a SaaS and marketplace company, which that combination is super powerful. I first started working at the beginning of this, of kind of when these two came together in 2004 with a company called LiveOps that grew into a $150 million revenue company and focused on the contact center space. These are very powerful combinations of services, but it are also incredibly complex, dollar for dollar, one of the most complex businesses I've ever run. So some of the things we need to think about is you need to lay out your key priorities of what to think about and where to prioritize your time, and walk you through kind of some of those key decision points. The way that we're going to balance this presentation today is I will do the first third of it focused on the marketing of the product. Zoe's going to take the people and the culture, as she was the one leading most of that. And then we're going to spend some time with Q&A. Please send any of your questions in a chat. We will get to them at the end. And we plan to save at least 15, 20 minutes of time to help get there. So, sorry, I'll stick with, so I'll focus on marketing and product first. So we have two key prioritizations before you jumpstart growth. And to us, that is, especially if you're a bootstrap company, you have precious few resources. One of the big questions you have to ask is, what am I going to be good at? And for us, that's sales or product. You can be really great at one of them. You're going to have to do a little of each in order to move forward. But how do you make that decision? How do you prioritize those resources? And the second, the management focus is your time. You can't have enough time to do all of these well. You can say you're a people front or first strategy company, but what does that actually mean to live up to it? And where does that hit when the rubber meets the road? So one of my favorite examples here of how to think about management focus came from Steve Ballmer. I read a while back that Steve Ballmer at the beginning of every year when he was CEO of Microsoft would say to his executive assistant, this is how I want to allocate my time, 20% for clients, 30% for internal meetings, 40% for product development, or whatever that allocation is, but so intentional about the way that he spent time. And I think that's a way that we all need to do, maybe not quite to that extent, but a way to think about really what's going to come, what is your prioritization process? So the first big decision is sales versus product innovation. And this is an incredibly hard one, especially based on the state of your company. There's so much pressure on startups, especially if you're a bootstrap company, you're pressured so that the founders can actually make enough of a living to keep the company afloat. And if you're a venture-backed or equity-backed company, you're super pressured because you have investors waiting for their payback. So there's a lot of push and momentum towards focusing on sales. We thought that was the wrong decision for us. And I also think just values-wise, it's always felt wrong to me. To me, we focused as much of our product or of our resource budget as we had. And there were, when I came on board and then Zoe came on board within 5 months after that, I had the pleasure of working with Zoe at one company before. We basically had enough opportunity to hire maybe 1 to 2 new people, and everything else had to come from either revenue that we built, that was new revenue because everything else was already spent, or turning over members of the team. So we started to focus as much as we possibly could on making a great product. A great product has so many halo effects. The sales that come from referrals and clients that are talking about you are priceless, as many of us know. But the other downside of that is if your product is not serving people, they will badmouth your product, they will not come back, and you'll also have no return users. So I didn't see another choice except to focus on the product. We wanted ours to be the premium product in the space, and we set out to do that in a short period of time. We also knew that we were going to have to rebrand in order to get there, and we wanted to have the product we wanted to have the product in a place that we were proud of before we had a new brand associated with it. So 4 of those key decisions on the product side were create the target market. The original premise of our company was focused on all small businesses, which was just too large, especially if you're a smaller company. I'm sure you've heard this before, but you have to go niche. It enables the rest of the company to function. You can target your marketing better. You can target your product better. People, your prospect list will respond to your product because it feels to them like you're speaking their language. For us, this became digital marketing agencies. They had a big pain point to solve. They need to create a lot of content so their clients get noticed on the web, so they can convert clients when they come on or when people are working through their funnel. And they need to do that. Some of our clients we have one client that does 1,200 articles per month, needs to manage all of that content in one platform and work interactively with every writer on every single piece. We have other clients who are agencies that might have 100 clients and 40 different verticals. They need expertise in all those areas, and they need to build the right pool of writers for them. So by choosing digital agencies, it freed up so much of our overhead of where we needed to focus time, and it made us more effective as a company too. The second big flag that we planted, and this is very specific for us, but I don't think it's specific in the fact that, is to focus on, let me say first, to focus on writers first. We wanted to be the company that treated our freelancers the best. We thought we would have a competitive advantage in doing so. Sadly, there's a very low bar in the freelancer space for how well you treat your people. But if you treat your entire community, your clients, your writers, your contractors in a way that feels special to them, you're going to garner much more allegiance to them, and you're going to differentiate yourself, and it's going to be a lot easier to stand out. And a lot of what Zoe's going to talk about follows this too. Our third key area of the product reboot was to actually enable services. So we know this is sacrilege in most SaaS businesses. We've thought when we talk to our clients, what are some of their biggest needs? It was having enough people to run another SaaS marketplace for their company. They needed extra support, and this needed extra management. So there were two opportunities here. One is we weren't selling enough. We couldn't go upstream because we weren't giving our clients enough support to get there. And the second is we had a big revenue opportunity to sell something immediate to our client base, which if we're going to focus all on Reboot, then that's even more important. And you'll see kind of a few of the other ways that we fast-tracked revenue without investing. And the last is relentless focus on user experience, which was fixing bugs at every possible point, looking for the best user experience. Content creation is a highly friction-filled process. There's no way to create content together with multiple parties, writers, multiple members of the client's team, our team QAing them, without creating a lot of friction and time. So how do we make that as pleasurable as possible? And it was to keep doing it every little step that we could and invest deeply in that. So if you're going to create product, you still need clients, and you still need a lot of them to pay the bills while you're trying to get your product to start being the lead and the magnet for new clients that you want it to be. So the best marketing when you're on a budget, this is where we spent a lot of thought. So one of our first decisions was we've only had one salesperson internally for the first 4 years that I was here, which is basically we grew from $2 million a year to $8 million with one salesperson by focusing on the strategy. But one of the other key areas is looking for the pockets of revenue that are easier to generate with your existing clients. So our journalist co-founder gave us an incredible gift, which was a very high domain authority and a lot of organic traffic that continually kicks out 1,000 new clients per year. I realize that's a gift not everybody has. And he did this by blogging every single day as part of his job and proving the value of content by doing so. So we got to rest on our laurels a little bit there. I realize everyone's not going to be able to do that. The second is expansion revenue. Going back to professional services, what else can we sell to our existing clients? We didn't have a pipeline of new sales, a new pipeline of product. We pretty much had to start from scratch. So what else can we offer our existing clients? So we started offering, you'll see when there's an inflection point on the graph where we introduced those new products, and it is pretty much the point where our entire company went up and to the right. And so we started offering professional services. We acquired the video company, started offering photo. And just by giving our clients more of what they actually needed and what they wanted us to do, it funded a tremendous amount of our growth. The third piece is pricing, and pricing is super complicated. We didn't know if we were priced right in the market, and especially when we weren't we didn't think that we had the leading product yet. How should we price it? And so we did a ton of studies and analysis to try to get our best advice from anywhere. And I think the best advice came from our board member, Denise Franklin, which was, if at least 10% of your clients leaving don't say it's because you're too expensive, then you're not priced high enough. And we weren't. We actually, the lower pricing was hurting us in a couple ways. One is we couldn't fund enough of our growth in a better product. But the second was it was actually hurting our ability to sell because it gave the appearance of our product not being as high quality as we should be in the marketplace. It reminds me a lot of the lesson of Lexus when they first came on the market to compete against Mercedes-Benz and BMW, and they priced their product $20,000 below at $30,000 versus $50,000 at the time. I realize that's a long time ago. And when they came back and it wasn't selling, they realized that if they increased their price by $15,000 was just below Mercedes and BMW, that spurred their growth because everybody thought they were now in the same category. So this is a pretty easy lever to pull. I mean, there's consequences as well, but a great way to do marketing when you're on a budget. And so back to our story. First, we prioritize product over sales. We thought that was deeply important. And the second is our management focus. Are we going to focus on people, processes, or technology? Is the classic three. And we really focus on people in a really deep way that we think about all the time. We make it one of our core focuses of the company. And we think it's one of the ways that make us stand out the most. And we think it's one of the ways that you can make your company stand out the most with more dedicated focus in time versus resource investment. And this is where I get to hand it off in 1 second. But first, I'm going to show you our chart again of of the magical growth curve. Now, before it went so high to the right, you could see a dramatic impact pretty much from the second that Zoe joined the team. Zoe told you a little about her background ahead of time. She had been working in film. We were really lucky to hire her. She is, well, you'll learn a lot about her. She's incredibly capable. She can get anything done. She learns new skills quickly. She's curious, she's active, and she'd never done any of it before. And when you're a bootstrap company, it's hard to find people who have been there, done that, and are a great fit. So I think this is a perfect, Zoe perfectly represents our hiring strategy and how we made all this work. So she's gone from never having hired or managed anybody in her entire life. She now manages more people than anybody else in our company. She has 12 direct employees. She has manages a pool of 50 contractors, 1,050 clients, and over 1,000 active writers, and has been one of the absolute keys to our success. So I will let her take the story from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the very flattering introduction, Steve. Luckily, as you saw on that graph, the story definitely doesn't stop after hiring me. I had the opportunity to build my own team when I came on board, and they were really critical in that early growth. And they taught me a lot about the power of having a stellar team. So prioritizing people over product and process, it's a tough call to make. But we feel that, people, they're behind your product, they're behind your processes, your strategy. So you really have to focus on this first and get it right. And our strategy was to put people first in every aspect of the business, which I know every single company says that. And so you're already yawning. But I'm hoping in the next couple of minutes to demonstrate what putting people first actually means, give some more tactical tips of how to do that, and demonstrate how it jump-started our growth. So for time's sake, I'm just going to focus on 3 key areas where we relied on really great people. Good.
Sorry.
Nervous fingers. So I'm going to start with hiring. A people-first strategy, it begins with your hires, but bringing this to life is really challenging when you don't have VC dollars to spend. So a critical step for us was how we thought about hiring differently. When you're only looking for people that match the exact experience you need for certain roles, you're going to probably run into a couple problems. One of those is they're often going to be out of your range. You might have to compromise on other important things like culture. And I know this sounds corny, it just doesn't leave a lot of room for magic. And here at Verblio, we're big believers in magic. So how do you hire in order to kickstart growth? So our guiding principle when it comes to hiring is hire for traits over previous experience. The traits we value at Verblio are creativity, energy, scrappiness, curiosity, just to name a few. And we often weight these more heavily in the hiring process than we do previous experience. These are qualities that we think can be gained through all sorts of different jobs and experiences, from filmmaking, in my case, bartending, teaching. We have a lot of people who've had some really strange jobs in the past before coming to Verblio, and we think it makes us all a lot stronger and more interesting. But we think that these traits yield people who can use their energy and enthusiasm to motivate their teams, inspire our client, and whose constant curiosity compels them to continually iterate and improve on our products and our processes. And that's what you really need at a bootstrapped company in a red ocean space. And the other thing I'll say is that previous experience, it can also come with its own risk. It might not be close enough domain experience to your industry and specific niche, which means that you're paying this really high price without the value of the experience you truly need. So how do you get people with certain traits to apply? We infuse our recruitment strategy with personality, fun, creativity. Basically our hiring strategy should reflect the traits that we are looking for in new team members. So I love our job recs. I thought I'd bring a couple examples of a few of them so you could see this in practice. Like we're looking for someone who eats complexity for breakfast and beauty for dinner. Like, how can you read that and not want to work for us? You know, it gives you such a clear picture of who we are. And we would just not let a boring job description get published. So I'm really lucky. I have a team of totally verbose weirdos who could write these great job descriptions all day long. But if you don't have this team in place yet, don't be afraid to use your marketing resources on these job descriptions. They're really, really important and should not be cookie cutter. And then relatedly, we also love cover letters at Verblio. I know this sounds terribly old-fashioned, but I'm not really talking about the stuffy to whom it may concern ones. We try to encourage candidates to use the space to represent who they are and what they value. And cover letters really allow us to find wacky, creative storytellers to join our ranks.
Cool. I'll add that we just added our first culture video where we added everybody's thoughts on culture in the entire company for the first time too, to include in our job recs, which was super fun thing to do, and we're thinking a lot more about video for the first time.
Absolutely. So next category is culture, you know, and how a strong, vibrant culture really nurtures employee engagement. At a bootstrap company, just moving a mile a minute, you're going to need really passionate, really engaged people. But how do you get people engaged? Our answer was, you build a culture just too dang fun not to stay up late slacking each other at night. So how do you build a culture that, you know, creates a fun, dynamic workplace where people actually want to work, that is so strong it can infuse your brand with its personality, and that energizes and creates loyalty with your users? That leads us to our second guiding principle, which is comprehensive investment in your employees is the bedrock of employee engagement. And what I mean by comprehensive investment is that you are intentionally investing in both the personal aspects of your employees as well as the more traditionally professional ones. So on the personal side, it comes down to infusing your work tools, your processes, policies with those core values. As an example, we hope to inspire quirkiness with really quirky different Slack channels and Slack channel names. You know, why be just the enterprise channel when you could be the eyes on the enterprise channel? And you may have seen on that last slide, we do have a Verblio stipend for any employee willing to dye their hair a Verblio color. So far, only one taker for that perk. Yeah, there she is, Maddie. But you know, it's early days for sure. And then we deeply believe that time off is critical to energy and engagement. So a couple things that we do at Verblio. We take the last Friday of each month off together as a team. We have Wednesday meditation sessions, kind of a recent addition for us. And then we do, you know, other boring stuff like unlimited PTO and such. And then on the professional side, we make professional investment come to life through a really high ratio of one-on-one meetings with direct reports each week. So I probably spend about 15 to 20% of my time in one-on-ones with my team. As well, we made the decision to sacrifice a headcount so that we could have an executive consultant work with many of us on personal growth plans, which is pretty cool. So it's definitely expensive and time-consuming to invest this much in a team, but we deeply believe that resources devoted to employee engagement have a very high ROI. So our last category for today is around how expanding that people first philosophy can go way beyond your staff and have a huge impact on your actual product. And Steve kind of alluded to some of this earlier in his presentation, but there are so many components of a business that rely on amazing people, and those people aren't always going to be your employees. So, you know, they can be your customers, you know, in our case, our writers, and, you know, even your brand. You can leverage your brand to put your culture front and center because, you know, if it's cool enough to attract awesome talent, then it will probably have a similar impact on your prospects. So a final guiding principle here is to connect with your users as if they're a part of your brand family. For us, the two stakeholder categories that can really write our success or our failure are our writers and our customers. Our writers are our product. Happy, motivated writers just create better content, which allows our quality to stand out in a red ocean space where a lot of our competitors are focused on driving costs down to the point of sacrificing the engagement and satisfaction of their freelancers. So we invest in writers in a lot of similar ways as we do our employees, actually. We include some of our most critical writers in our equity pool so that, like our employees, they are concretely tied to our direct growth and our success. We also regularly evaluate pay and make regular adjustments that are going to show them value and ensure that we can retain the best writers in Verblio and not lose risking them to other platforms or opportunities. And then we do a lot of fun stuff with them. We send them swag when they hit Verblio milestones. We send out cards when they have personal milestones like buying a home or having a kid. We foster a super active writer forum where they can ask each other questions, help each other out, chit chat about anything from like a Verblio product roadmap to the funniest Grammarly myth corrections of the week. And this basically allows them to be part of a community, which in a field that is so isolated like writing is incredibly impactful and should not be overlooked. And then on the other end of the platform, we have our customers. Customers are a literal business. We need inspired, engaged customers just as much as we do employees. So similarly to writers, we try to figure out how to invest in our customers in some ways that we do our staff. So our fun, quirky brand is just as much of a recruitment and retention tool for customers as it is employees. And we really try to put that front and center, ensuring that every aspect of their experience, from email copy to platform UI, is going to reflect our Verblio values and our personality. And then, as Steve mentioned, unlike a lot of SaaS companies, we've lovingly embraced professional services and have found this to be a really big growth driver. At the core of it, it means that we get to put our awesome people front and center, working one-on-one with our clients, using their energy and personality to engage clients like really nothing else can. And then we're really committed to our brand mission to be the friendliest content platform in the biz. And this means that we do our best to ensure that every interaction, email, support staff, working with writers is going to reinforce that mission throughout a client's experience with us. So what is the result of all of this? People are a virtuous cycle. Quirky, fun employees inspire new Verblions who in turn inspire awesome products and processes that evangelize users who then evangelize new users. And this all drives growth, which then in turn attracts and inspires new amazing talent for us. And what it means from the nuts and bolts side of the business, it means that we are consistently bringing on amazing overachievers. Our turnover is insanely low. We break records in our employee engagement surveys. We actually get to love coming to work each day. And the ratio of time spent moving the business forward versus dealing with people issues is really, really high. So this whole thing is a flywheel. Fun, quirky people just being themselves is a magnet for others. They create truly entertaining content, a vivacious brand, and we get to win and keep talented writers and engage clients through that good people effect. And this, probably the most tangible effect of it all, crazy, fun, exhilarating, exhausting growth. So that's what we have for you all today. I would be remiss to say if I didn't say that we have, I think, 10 open positions right now. If you're looking or you know people who are looking, we would love to meet you. But for now, we'd love to kind of dig in and answer any questions.
Cool. Nice work, Zoe. Thank you. Cool. Thanks for the happy birthday wish as greetings. I'm just opening up the chat right now. Please send anything in chat if you've got questions. We'd love to answer them. I was just thinking that I've recently heard, I ask a lot of the people professionals, HR professionals out there, kind of what they see as the value of every lost employee. And the most common answer is between 2 to 2.5 times their salary in lost productivity and lost turnaround. And I think of it as one of those key, the similarities between people first strategy and brand first strategy are both really powerful for me, that they're both competitive advantages that are sustainable, that take ongoing effort and commitment in order to keep them, which is very hard to replicate for your competitors, and which takes a long time to build with very few direct arrows to the ROI to show your CFO. But when you're committed to both of them, they're both ways to stick out for the long run. Cool.
Looks like we have one question in here. What are the traits you identified for new hires? Were these traits different depending on the role and or the department? Super interesting question. I think, we try to have a number of traits and values at Verblio. Not everyone needs to check every single box, but I think it is important that no matter the department, that there are a couple of those checked. Curiosity just feels like a no-brainer. We need it no matter who you are or what you're doing. But in our hiring process, we do use a tool that allows us to specifically identify certain traits that we think are going to be more needed for one role, and then be able to kind of rate people on those after we've talked with them. So it's not a super clear answer. It's a little bit of both. I think there definitely needs to be some shared traits all across the company, but of course we do narrow in on certain ones for different roles. I don't know, Steve, if you have anything else to add there?
No, that's it. That's a great answer. I would also say that we're at a really interesting phase of our life cycle. So the best thing about Zoe's team for operations is very few people have operations skills. So you're not really sacrificing as much as been there, done that on their operations side. So you can really hire for a curious liberal arts background, which we want for the rest of the company as well. But it gets a lot higher. So we've gone from 12 people to 36 people in the last couple of years, and we already have 10 open headcount. We're getting to that place where we need more subject matter expertise in addition to meeting our traits. And one of our key values is that we're not willing to sacrifice the values to get the expertise, and we're willing to wait longer and be understaffed to get there if necessary. But we hope that our other advantages pull in more candidates too. How do you justify those decisions that don't have a direct ROI when things aren't growing as much as you thought it should? This is a super hard question, and I think you knew that was a hard question when you asked it. It's faith and commitment. So the way to build a startup, so we laid out key commitments of kind of like, or key strategic inflection points, ideas you make, and I think this is the way that presentations work. This is the way when I was in business school, our business school classes were focused on those key inflection points. But the way to make a business successful is 1,000 micro decisions and execution moments every single day for 4 to 5 years, and believing that this is the right thing to do based on it. And so all I can say is you have to have faith in your strategy and pull it through. And if you are reaching this point where you don't have the direct ROI, you might have to supplement some of those direct ROI initiatives. You might have to have an outbound sales campaign just to suffice your board, or just to generate enough revenue if you're not as lucky as we are to have inbound traffic and easy expansion revenue opportunities. But yes, it's faith. You have to believe this is the right way to build a company, and you have to have enough time. So if you don't have enough time to get there, then you're clearly going to have to take some of those shortcuts first.
And I would also add that, no matter what, you're going to need really engaged, excited people to build a great product, and there's no way around that. So it is always going to pay off to really invest in employees and build a great culture where they want to be, so that they are willing to work the extra hours when they need to. They're ready to come to brainstorms and really think outside of the box. And so again, it's not direct ROI, but thinking about what do you need to do in order to allow people to show up and be excited to work really hard. And it really does come down to investing and encouraging engagement.
Cool. You're welcome. And it's interesting when we think a lot about what you just asked. Be great to hear about how people first relates to DEI, the Justice League, and addressing diversity at the same time as great company culture. Thank you for that question. Inclusiveness is one of the big focuses of our company. I think clearly I appreciate you knowing that. We've spent a lot of cycles, as a lot of other companies have, and we think a lot about how to make this really genuine and how do you make it true, especially if you're in Denver. We don't have a huge minority presentation in Denver, and if you want to be a Denver company, this is something you need to think about. How do you bring in as much inclusiveness as you can? So we have a lot of dedicated team members who formed together at the beginning of a lot of the racial justice renewed focus at the beginning of last year to create what we call our Justice League, which is our team that's really focused on this. And we focus on a few areas of where does inclusiveness hit every possible part of our platform, and it includes from as small things as what our avatar was. We used to have a white form, a white blank as our avatar, and we changed it to purple. And using little things in the platform, like the words white label and things of that nature that we had no idea of, like the connotations to them, to thinking through our hiring strategy. We try to create the most diverse pool of candidates we can. We still have a lot of room to grow, but we made a lot of progress last year as well. And then we bring in a lot of speakers. So we had a Juneteenth speaker. We're having a Latin American Heritage Month speaker come in, and we try to bring those also out on our podcast. So we haven't talked a lot. If our podcast is called Yes in Marketing, we're on about our 80th episode. It's basically a liberal arts approach to marketing, with the idea being that marketing is one of the coolest fields because if you follow best practices, then you're going to lose. So there's no better opportunity to look and be curious about other areas that you can bring in. And so we bring in a lot of those speakers to teach us about how to do our businesses better. Thank you for that question. Zoe, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, let's see. Hi from New Zealand. We are looking to enter the Colorado market Q2 2022. It's exciting. Congrats. Have you seen a successful example for making that first hire in a market from the other side of the world?
I can't help you at all. Zoe, do you have any ideas?
All I would say is it's a great time to do it. You know, this pandemic has forced everyone to become so much more comfortable working remotely, getting excited about remote opportunities. It's really, I think, allowed people to meet who never would have. And so I think there was going to be a lot of great talent here who would be excited to work for a New Zealand-based company.
I would say, now that I've thought about it a little bit more, we use an incredible recruiter who has started to help us a little bit more as the job market has gotten a lot tighter, who's Colorado-based, who I've known since high school, and I'm happy to introduce you on the side if you want to reach out for helping find a great person of talent. The only other advice I'd give, which might be obvious, which is find someone who's really networked in Colorado if you want them to be the hub and expand from their network, as it'll be a lot easier to move from there. That's true. I think Sarah did do that. From Eric McClure, what does new employee onboarding look like at Verblio? Zoe, I think you hire the most people at the company, so I think it's much more better question for you.
Yeah, I think we put a ton of emphasis in, definitely the first month, but even the first 3 months in learning. Generally, new employees are not handed a ton of new projects right away. And we try to really encourage them to make time to learn about the industry, spend a lot of time with our product and get insights that only fresh eyes can do. And so sending people to become customers for us and buy every single product available, having them go through the writer process and the process of trying to match themselves to clients is all really important. So that's definitely a big focus of ours when it comes to onboarding.
We have also, one of the big challenges of startups, I think that's why we all love startups, is every phase is completely different. You might have a completely different business to run 6 months from where you started. And one of the areas that we just realized recently is when we were 12 people, our all hands would start with everybody introducing each other. And now it could take months for everyone to introduce. So we actually had to create a few different areas of onboarding, one being an introduction program. How do you get to know people? So we have profiles that are try to bring out the fun in each one of our new employees that we share with everyone, and they can go through and get a feel for people who are, for kind of what their personalities are, what their role. Then we have we try to connect them with as many people as possible, pretty everybody in their view, but also people cross-functionally. We have projects that we call cross-functional projects that anybody can be a part of, which is a great career development opportunity. And they could be things from like, which CRM program should we choose, to how do we completely redo our crediting system? And this enables our employees to work cross-functionally and build much deeper bonds. We have special things for remote employees now that we're a third remote, so that they stay as connected. And we try to really keep that concept first. And we just introduced our first mentorship program, where every new person will, or new employee at Verblio, every Verbleon will have a mentor somewhere across the company. And it doesn't have to be somebody who's more senior to them. I think the word mentor sounded more hierarchical than it is for us. It could be anyone who's been in the company and can just show you the ropes and help you with the jargon. I think those are some of the ways that we've started to think about it differently. Cool. Last call for questions. Those were some great questions, people. I really appreciate it. I will wrap up then. Thank you everybody for coming today. It was really a pleasure. Please reach out to Zoe or myself separately. We're on LinkedIn. We're at steve@verblio.com or zoe@verblio.com, and very easy to find. And we'd love to hear from you. And I really hope you got a lot of value out of this today, because these are some really important learnings for us, and we think they really do good as far as people first strategy and bringing them to life. So we'd love to see other companies do them as well. Have a great day.
Have a great one.